Yeah, Shalom Israel. Before I start, we give all praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Bahar Rakat Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach all the Akims and Iris and byways, those pushing videos and this truth in sincerity to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, this lesson is actually based on a lesson I watched by an elder, which I felt was very good. And, I just wanted to touch on it a bit myself. So, the elder's channel, GMS for the Most High 7 Bar. The lesson is called Stop Dibber Dabbling with Strangers, Women, or Else. And that strangers, woman that the elder is speaking about in the lesson is different doctrines, and this is mainly going out to those brothers and sisters that are new in the truth. When you come into this truth, this is what you're meant to be focused on. You don't want to be taking in a bit of this, then you're jumping over, listening to a bit of Islam, a bit of Christianity, a bit of Egyptology or whatever it may be. You're meant to be focused on this word and get yourself built up in this word, because next thing you know, you're getting taken over by what they're telling you. Like the elder said, we've had all the time in the world to take in all these other doctrines. So when you come into this truth, this is what you need to be focusing on. I remember when I came into the truth, I ran to one of my friends and I said, "Yeah, do you know where the Israelites, Deuteronomy chapter 28?" And that's all I knew, because and I watched the video which resonated with me and I wanted to pass that on. And he came with a bag of Egyptology stuff and just shut me down. And he didn't mean to shut me down, but the knowledge that he had in what he was into, that's what shut me down. And that was what actually pushed me to study more. It could have brought me the other way, not being grounded in this truth, because some of the things he said sounded good, but because I had believed in the scriptures and then seeing it broken down and making sense, that forced me to study and get more grounded in this truth before I started to try and tell it to anyone else. And this is what you need to do when you come into this. This is what you have to be focusing on, man. You can't be taking in a bit of this truth, then you're taking in someone from Islam, then you're taking in some Christianity, then you're taking in some Krishna, because they will say things that sounds good, yeah, but because you're not grounded in this truth, next thing you know, you're walking down the street, you see your brother, yeah, assalamu alaikum, like, come on, man. So yeah, for those that are new in this truth, this is what you're meant to be focusing on, man. This is 1 Peter 2:2. It says, as newborn babes, yeah, because that's what we are when we come into this. We're newborn babes. It says, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. Don't say desire, what they're teaching in Islam or what they're teaching in Christianity. We've had ample time for us to go into all those different window doctrines. So when you come to this truth now, this is what your focus is meant to be. Get yourself a good foundation. Once you are grounded in the understanding of this truth, then obviously you might watch a bit of something else, but you're watching it to be able to pull it apart, showing the errors in what they're teaching. Yeah. But when you're new in this, you're a babe, and you need to be desiring the sincere milk of the word, the basics of the scriptures, and grow. It says that ye may grow, because that's what you want to do. You want to grow when you win this. You don't want to be stagnant. You don't want to be at the same level all the time. Otherwise, it's easy for you to fall into other winds of doctrines. Yeah, this is Ephesians 4:14. It says that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men. And this is what happens when you're new in this truth and you're still taking in a bit of this and a bit of that. You're not focusing on this truth so that you can grow. It says that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Because like I said, you would listen to something for, say, Islam, they'll come out with something and it sounds good. You know, and some of it, you know, they say things like, oh yeah, well, you know, we believe in that there's only one God, and we believe in the prophets, and but then they start to skew off. Yeah. So you want to just stick to this when you're knowing the truth. It's like for me, I remember for the first 2 years straight, I didn't watch no TV. I used to just go to work, come home, do my paperwork on the computer, then boom, YouTube, watching videos, learning scriptures. You know, it was like, if it weren't the scriptures I was in, you know, it would be like an addiction to the wrong thing. You know, that's how this was for me. It was an addiction. I couldn't get enough when I first came into this truth. You know, that's all I focused on. And, you know, for those that are new in this truth, this is all you should be focused on. Getting yourself built up, getting yourself a strong foundation. You know, I didn't want to watch nothing else. You know, nothing else actually gripped me. Like, being able to learn more of this truth, that's all I wanted. It's like I was a sponge and I was just soaking up everything, man. Like I said, going to work, coming home, YouTube on, just learning. And even with that, you grow, because you might start off watching a particular camp, and then as you grow, you realize that, well, this is the body for me. They're the one that I believe has the doctrine, which is, you know, breaking down the scriptures right, so on and so forth. So this is Ephesians 4:14, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine. That's what will happen when you're not grounded, man. It says, by the sleight of men. By the sleight of men.
Strong's G 2940, Kubaya.
It says down here, point 2, the deception of men. Because dice players sometimes cheated and defrauded their fellow players. Yeah, but it says deception. This is what happens, man. You be deceived by these other doctrines of things. Even when you look at Christianity, before we came into this knowledge, you know, for those of us that was into that, it sounded right. For God so loved the world, you know, he loved everybody, that Hawashai came and died for those who wanted to believe in him. It sounded right. That's a sleight of men. Now we've got the proper understanding that the world is Israel. Hawashai only came and died for his people, so on and so forth. You know, we're building, we're growing. So, you know, Ephesians 4:14 again, it says that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men, deception, and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Now, this is Acts 2:42. It says, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers. So this is what we have to do, man. Continue steadfastly in this truth, yeah, in this understanding that we've been fortunate and that we've been graced by the Most High to open our mind to, you know, because there's many of our brothers and sisters, friends, you know, family members who you've come into this truth, you try to relate to them, and they can't grasp it, you know. So we have to count ourselves lucky that the Most High has deemed us worthy to open our eyes to this understanding, to this truth. Yeah, but at the same time, you have to be focused on this truth. This is meant to be your first love. You know, get yourself a good foundation. Yeah. Once you're grounded, yes, you can take in other things, but you're taking them in, you know, to be able to, for want of a better word, cut the lies out of it and show others where the fault are in these things. But until you're grounded, till you've got a good foundation, it'll be easy for you to slip back into it. You know, like I said, you're walking down the street and assalamu alaikum, whatever that madness is. You know what I'm saying? That's what you'll be saying. Instead of telling your brother or your sister shalom or shalom, you know, you're coming out with some different type of greeting, man. Yeah, this is 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 14. It says, but continues out in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. yeah, your elders, your apostles. It says, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures. Yeah, not talking about the Quran, not talking about the book of the dead, talking about what we call the Bible today. It says, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith which is in Mashiach Yahushai. So this is what's going to make us wise unto salvation. Yeah. Let me grab a quick precept. This is Isaiah 34 and 16. It says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord. That's not the Quran. That's not the book of the dead. Yeah, it's what we call the Bible today with the Apocrypha. Yeah, KJV to be a bit more specific. It says, seek ye out the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail, because these other doctrines don't give you prophecies, man. Yeah, it's through prophecy we got to understand that, you know what we're reading in the scriptures is speaking about us going into slavery on ships, yokes of iron around your necks, going to your enemies for the want of everything, so on and so forth. It's through the prophecies that we see in these scriptures that, you know, gave us the understanding that, yeah, this is speaking about us. So it says, seek ye out the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want a mate. For my mouth is commanded, and his spirit. You know, going back to 2 Timothy 3 and 15, it says, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, yeah, because we're coming into this truth as a babe, yeah, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith which is in Mashiach Yahushai. Yeah, and as a babe, you don't want to be drinking all different formulas, man. You want to be sticking to one formula, and that's this truth. And this is Proverbs chapter 7, verse 1. It says, my son, keep my words and let my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of thine eye. It says, bind them upon thy fingers, write them upon the table of thine heart. Say unto wisdom, thou my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman, that they may keep thee from the strange woman. Yeah, and that strange woman is all these other doctrines, man. Yeah, outside of this truth, from the stranger which flattereth with her words, because they sound good. Yeah, you ever listen to some of these Muslims speak? It's like, yeah, it's the thing. But knowing this truth, you realize that that's not the way forward. But if you're not built up, you're not grounded, you ain't got yourself a strong foundation in this. Next thing, yeah, your head's wrapped, you're wearing them dresses that they wear, you know, doing all kind of madness, man. It says that they may keep thee from the strange woman, from the stranger which flattereth with her words. Yeah. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement and beheld among the simple ones, because when we come into this truth, that's how we are. We are simple, you know, because we don't have understanding of this. It says, and beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youths a man void of understanding, passing through the street near a corner, yeah, near that strange woman, and he went the way to her house. Yeah, and next thing you know, he never came out of the house alive, man. Now they've left the truth ain't for them anymore, and into these other winds of doctrine. So yeah, this is the last scripture I'm going to bring out. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 4. It says, for though they flourish in branches for a time, so you come into this truth, getting a bit of understanding, you know, starting to flourish for a time, yet standing not fast, they shall be shaken with the wind, and through the force of winds they shall be rooted out, because, you know, you went to dibble dabble. You went to go into a bit of this, a bit of that, instead of just being focusing on this truth. It says on verse 5, the unperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not ripe to eat, yea, meat for nothing, yea, good for nothing. So, you know, it's just a little warning to those that are new in this truth, man. This should be your first love. This should be all that you're focusing on, getting all the knowledge that you can from this, because it's new to you. You know, you don't need to know about anything else. Like, you know, repeating what the elder said, when you was out in the world, you had all the time to go into all them winds of doctrines, you know, check out all them strange women, you know, see what's happening at their yard and so forth. Now you're in this truth, be focused on this, man. Yeah. Otherwise it says you'll be good for nothing. But yeah, just have what I wanted to touch on. Hopefully someone's find this edifying. And with that, I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Haraka Kadash, Kwame Allah.